And we are back. I'm RJ Eskow, and this is the 0 Hour. And nowhere is the urgency of the moment, the 0 Hour, more apparent than it is in the world of the environment. So our next topic is going to be on Keystone XL and the environment. Our guest is Amanda Starbuck. Amanda is the Energy and Finance Programs Director at the Rainforest Action Network, an organization for whom I have a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation of their slogan, which is environmentalism with teeth. And Amanda and the RAN have been following this story closely. And as they wrote, the President Obama, said that he would make his final decision on Keystone XL based on its environmental impact. He commissioned a study. He promised to reject the pipeline if it, quote, would significantly exacerbate the problem of carbon pollution. And the Rainforest Action Network's blog, The Understory, wrote that the verdict in today's report is clear. Keystone XL fails President Obama's climate test, and therefore it's being said, in a sense, his decision on Keystone XL is the president's climate test. Amanda, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me on the show.
Well, I think that it's our pleasure, and I think it's very important for people to understand this issue, because there's been some confusion even on the left about it. I mean, I think there's this sense that among some that, well, some of the unions support it, it creates jobs, and if it's not that, there's even this argument that it's not that big a deal either way. That's what's been appearing in the commentary now, that it would only create a couple thousand jobs, so it's not a big a deal to go for it. But on the same token, environmentally, if it's only creating a couple thousand jobs, how big can its environmental impact be? Could you just enlighten our listeners a little bit on that?
Sure. Well, I've been seeing reports usually put out there by the oil industry and by TransCanada, the developers, because this pipeline will be a great deal for them, saying that Keystone could create 20,000 jobs. Well, try 35. Let's be real about this. If you look at the report that the State Department brought out last week, they confirmed that there will be several thousand temporary construction jobs. Those are jobs that will last about a year, but once the pipeline is built, we are talking about 35 permanent jobs. 35 permanent jobs in an economy of 150 million people. This is hardly going to be the economic jobs lifeline that the industry is portraying it as. Compare that to the fact that there are nearly 120,000 Americans already with permanent jobs in solar energy. We definitely need to be creating jobs in the energy industry, but let's do that through clean, renewable energy rather than something that's going to be as disastrous for the climate as Keystone.
Well, of course, that's a great answer. I mean, all of a sudden we find the political forces that are telling us they don't want a jobs program in this country because they don't believe that government should create jobs. All of a sudden they want to spend billions and put the environment at risk for a handful of jobs. But the other side of it, and another report that I've seen says that the broader economic impact of the pipeline would be, and I'm curious to know if you can confirm this or not, that the broader impact of the pipeline would be to make it possible to sell oil that's currently being sold in North America elsewhere in the world, and therefore would be likely to drive up the price of oil for people in the country that's actually approving the decision, President Obama's United States. Is that correct, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd also just like to go back to the jobs question for a minute and say that if we're talking about job creation, I honestly believe that this pipeline's got the potential to kill jobs. Do you remember a few years ago that horrific BP oil spills that absolutely devastated the Gulf fisheries? The report found, if you look at the oil industry's record between 2002 and 2012, there were 1,700 oil spills from pipelines, and TransCanada has a terrible record in this respect. So if Keystone gets built, it's fair to say it's going to spill, and a pipeline rupture is going to devastate farms and ranches along the pipeline. We should be talking about this as a job killer, not a job creator.
Well, I think that's a great point, and also I think if oil prices do in fact go up in North America, that would have the net effect of killing jobs as well. So you could add those to that tally. But
I agree. Yes, I absolutely agree.
Now, I would also ask, could you tell our listeners just a little bit about what was in that report that was finally released?
Sure. So the report which came out last Friday, and there were a lot of people waiting to see what was in the report, and more than 2 million people had submitted comments to the State Department to inform it after the first draft, with the overwhelming majority saying that the pipeline should be rejected on climate reasons. So when the report came out, all eyes were directly on the climate section, and the killer statistic that's in the report is saying that Keystone XL could mean as much carbon pollution as up to 27 million tons of carbon pollution every single year. You can put it another way. That's like putting 6 million additional cars on our roads, or the pollution from 6 million tailpipes every year. And over the course of the lifespan of the pipeline, and these pipelines usually last for several decades, we're talking about 1 billion additional tons of carbon pollution. That's 1 billion additional tons at a time when most nations around the world are doing everything they can to reduce their carbon emissions. And Obama is trying to decide whether he should lock in these extra emissions. And Obama,
well, now,
sorry, go ahead.